Okay, so for the start of making the guitar, we're going to start with a blank sheet of paper. Some stuff like the bridge, so we have a good visual for where it is, the tail stop, tuning machine so we can gauge where stuff is. We're going to use humbuckers so we can put it in there and dictate what the space is that we need to use. I've got some potentiometers and stuff in a bag over here in case we want to put those on there. We're also not going to be afraid to use a French curve should the need come up. Sometimes I use it, it's a godsend, sometimes it's worthless. The circle gauge, we have a protractor, you need a good protractor. I've got a couple different rules here. I've got two triangles. I've got a long straight edge for a center line, and I've got a fret scale template. This one is basically mandatory because everything in the electric guitar is going to be built around what goes on with these frets right here. So we're going to start basically with the center line, and we're going to mark out our frets, and we're going to then draw where the fretboard is going to go. After we draw where the fretboard's going to go, then we can start working out the rest of the details, like where the bridge is going to go, where the pickups are going to go. We're going to leave some space up here for a headstock, and then we can go to work on the body. So let's start with the center line. Hopefully that's clear enough that you can see. And then we'll start with our fret scale. One I use is from Luther's Mercantile and our LMI. When you look them up on the website, it's LMI, not LMI. Luther's Mercantile International. You could use StewMac, you could use an eBay, it doesn't really matter as long as the scale itself is accurate. The scale I'm going to use is a 25 inch, and I'm probably going to do a full 2 octaves because that is what I personally prefer. So we'll mark out, starting with the nut and the first, and we'll do it all from the same side so everything is proper. I find doing these drawings 1-to-1 if you can is a very good thing, mostly because it allows you to see a lot of the proportions and how things actually will be. Now when I do this, I'm probably going to do a 24 fret neck. I like to go one beyond it so that way I can just stop my fretboard there and it looks proportionate. But that's personal preference. Everybody has their own personal preferences. And we're going to take one of our beat up triangles. Actually, we're going to just use the protractor. And we're going to line this puppy up here. We're going to overdraw the line, but we can erase. And then we're going to come up here to the nut. And we're going to once again overdraw the line, but once again we can erase. Now the next thing I like to do is mark these guys off. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the normal string spacing is written down here somewhere. Something I should know, but it's 1 5/8 inches. And if we divide 1 5/8 inches by 2, 13/16. That's right. 6 30 seconds. 6 30 seconds. Double check. 1 5/8. And then over on this end, we're going to want to set up the bridge. Now we're going to need to know where that is, so we'll use our nice long rule here. would love to have a 30-inch very precise rule, but I am not willing to spend the money on that, to be honest with you. So we're set up at 1 inch over here. We're a 25-inch scale, so 26 here, and then we're going to go a 16th beyond for the location of the bridge itself, where the strings will stop. And then we're going to draw in our bridge. So we're going to have our string spacing here at the bridge. It's going to be a little bit of a pain. We'll measure it, and we come up with 2 and a 16th. So 2 and a 16th divided by 2 is 1 and a 32nd. So 1 32nd, 1 and 32nd. And if we double check that with our bridge by looking under there, we're going to be looking okay. Now the next thing is on the nut end. You need to come in an 1/8 inch, because that is normally where they do for your center your string to the edge of your fretboard. So now we have, this is where your string's going to be, and then your high E and your low E. So we're going to connect the dots on that one. And then we're going to plate connect the dots on this one. And that's going to be our high and low E's. Now, we know this is going to be an 1/8 inch out, so we're going to go ahead and add an 1/8 inch over here. This will be the easiest way to do this, and then we'll add an 1/8 inch over here. Now we're going to draw this guy from the end of the fretboard up to the nut, and end of the fretboard up to the nut. Doesn't really hurt if you want to go a little past that. In fact, it's probably a good idea. And we can add a 1/4 inch here. It'll change depending on what you're doing for your nut. If you're using a Floyd, you're going to add more space. That's an 1/8 inch. If you're using a Floyd, you're going to add more space. If you're using a Fender style little groove thing, you're going to add that plus a little bit of extra space. I personally just like straight, old-fashioned 1/4 inch nut. Alright, so we have our nut. This is where our headstock will be. This is where our bridge will be. Put that there and there so we can visualize a little bit better. And then the next thing I like to do is put where our pickups are going to be. Give this a little bit of space. Get it approximately where we want it here. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're just looking for a general design, and you're going to spend a lot of time measuring on the body to decide where the holes go anyway. Of course, I put the 59 on the wrong spot, so the JB's going in the wrong spot. those guys away so we don't need them anymore. Now, generally speaking, when it comes to where you want your design to be for different things, the further out you can bring the top here, the less neck heavy it's going to be. So I like to just mark out a rough idea of where the 12th is, where the 14th is, maybe where the 15th or 17th is. Don't really want to get too much further back than here where we start getting seriously neck heavy. Alright, and then as far as the rest of the design, this is where it's up to you. I normally start with a drawing of a current guitar and start modifying, or I take one of my templates and I start doing something funky with a new one. For example, I could take something like this, throw them, I don't know, maybe there. And then I'd have myself a Cool Rhodes, and if I traced that and flipped it over and traced it again, I'd have a King V. But I am looking for more of the Moss Wright surf kind of look. Look at that, it's a dirty wood shop. So we're going to take my take on a Strat, and we're going to put it down. Let's see, let's bring this puppy back some more here. Maybe to there-ish. Line them up with my center lines. Trace them so I got something. I will do a video in the future on scaling drawings too. So in case you want that Iceman or that Flying V guitar, you can make that sort of thing happen. Now, as far as what we're going for here, it's really just a matter of the Moss Wright surf whatever is kind of a flattened out version, and kind of bring it out, and then we're going to kind of bring this guy down. To be honest with you, I'm not the world's greatest at drawing. Bring this guy maybe up to about here, just like I said, in the interest of not being too neck heavy. I should have a separate eraser. I go through a lot of eraser when I'm doing this. And we need to get more fret access, so we're gonna go ahead and bring this guy more down. It's honestly just a whole lot of this. Pretty boring, so I'll probably just speed up the video. Now that's basically the rough of it. Normally what I do is I draw this out, leave it like this, I hang it on my shop wall. I let it just cook in the back of my mind. If I see something I like or a change I want to make, then I take it down and make the change. I have no shame when it comes to that sort of thing, to be honest with y'all. It's just really a matter of, do I like this? Do I want this? Do I want, maybe I saw something on something else that gives me a different idea. I personally like to have weight in certain areas. That's entirely up to you. as far as what you want to do. You know, you find some guitars like Explorer, the weight's very much like this. There's very little going this way. Some guitars are almost completely symmetrical. But they say, at least the rumor is, the Mosrite was more or less an upside down Stratocaster. So we can take some beef out of here in the back. One thing also to think about when you are drawing a guitar is how are you going to sit with it? Because if it is not comfortable to sit and play, it's not going to be the one you're going to reach for. It's just the way it is. If you only play it standing up, you're only going to play it standing up. When you're sitting there at the computer or in your easy chair, you're not going to throw it in your lap and noodle around on it. But that is generally what we're looking for here. Next thing you want to do is maybe consider your position of your potentiometers. Come out. You know, do you want to have a volume and a tone? Do you want to do something crazy or unusual or out of the ordinary? And where'd it go? I lost my three-way switch. Throw your switch in some place different like that. Because I mean, you see guitars with that, or do you want it down here? Do you want it just set it up here? I mean, these are things to start thinking about. I normally end up doing like a four knobs. Let's see if I got two more knobs I can show you what I'm talking about. Just a regular Les Paul kind of look. Mostly because I'm kind of a control freak and I want to be able to do those things on board. Another one to think about is where is your jack going to go? Because you might think this is great and then you want to put your jack here and lo and behold there really isn't room. So if I were doing this guy, I'd probably be like that. In fact, I am doing this guy and I'm probably going to be like that. Somewhere in that vicinity like that. And then as far as my switch, I want to put it here just because I don't like being standard normal. I might use a push-pull pot system so I can do some funky wiring with coil splitting or Jimmy Page wiring diagram or what have you, but I'll decide that later.